Alright, so we've got ourselves some brand new guns, and I haven't done a little special service on them yet, so let's go through some stuff. Quick little inspection first. Alright, bit of a gap there. And the main thing that I'm going to be doing is fixing that, but there's some other bits and pieces that we might as well just go through everything. First of all, we'll turn it off. Do the old unscrew Mondo. I'll have to readjust here. Try not to knock my entire bench off. Always put your finger at the back, saves you losing screws. Sometimes you get lucky and half unscrew them, so you can just pick them up. Other times they spin in the same spot. Come on, buddy. New plastics are always a bit tight. The only time you can see there, it's kind of like pulling plastic off. Got a little trick for that, but I don't have my drill on me at the moment. Come on, buddy. Put them to the side, so we won't lose them, which I'm sure we'll do anyway. So it can come off, go to the side. Now, new gun rubbers. They're awesome because they're all bright and whatnot, but by God do they suck. Don't ever use a screwdriver, you'll end up snapping, tearing holes through it or snapping your plastic. You just got to get your fingers in there and give the old left, right, come around the other side, same thing. Human. That one actually came off super easy. I'm going to use that. Keep our screws and bolts in. Hopefully. Alright. Next one. Now sometimes you can just get lucky. There's a nut on the other side there. Oh, and we got lucky. Straight, isn't it? Bit of pressure on there to help it unscrew. Once it slips, it'll come out. That's the big boy one. Save you comparing sizes. Pop that one back on, and you know which one's which. Alright, so we'll do the cover ones first. This one's going to come all the way. Weeble wobble, weeble wobble, and it'll just pop out, go to the side. Make sure you don't lose any nuts. Second cover. Jesus. Yeah, you don't want to hear plastic cracking when you unscrew it. That means it's probably done up too tight. How tight? Well, it's just something you're going to have to learn. Tight enough to not slip, but not too tight that it's going to, Jesus Christ, like that. Whereas you're going to just end up coming undone. Fingernails are always good. One of the best tools you can have as a technician. fingernails. Come on. Oh, you gotta be careful not to, because these pins stick out. You don't want to be putting pressure up there. Fuck off. Random phone calls. Alright, where were we? So yeah, don't put him on top because you'll end up hurting the pins or your table. The cover's going to pop it. Now these ones, you just got to be super careful with it because you can see that board in there. She wants to bend, and if you end up cracking some of the internal tracks in there, you're not going to have sound or lasers. So it's just kind of pressure backwards or towards you, so to speak, and just same thing, left right. End up coming out. It's kind of got a little latchy bit on there. And also just being super careful pulling it out because I don't know what those, oh, look at that, shanked it. So I usually bend it in on itself, then it's hopefully not going to get caught on everything and just pop out for you. Yeah, it's got those crimp in connectors, the push in click click jobs, so you don't want to go tugging on that too hard. Alright, now Jesus, we're going to do the rest of them. Perfect. Yeah. I think their mold's starting to go a bit funny as these screws are not coming out straight. Which make me think the clamshell's not perfectly lined up. Alright. I missed one. Alright, so that's relatched itself, so let's pulley back that one out. Sometimes you can get lucky and just pull the whole thing off with all the screws in it. Shaky, 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 and we're in. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. Whoa! Technology. Loose speaker. Awesome. Have to go turn the glue gun on. So, one thing I like to inspect is these things because it's like the selecting between the shotgun mode and that, capacitive sensors or something like that. Making sure they're nice and tight because I think they've fixed it now, but they had a problem back in the day where that used to back off and crack the plastic. Right. So, get the trigger out of the way for now. I'm going to take this whole thing out just so I can inspect the other side. Should be 3 screws, 2 of them should have washers on there just because they're close to you don't want to like short it out with the 2 of them. Perfect. You don't want the screw to short out on the main board. I don't think it actually does anything, but always good for practice. Always good practice, I should say. Yeah, the side for now. Oh look, that one didn't even have a screw in it. Awesome. Shaky, shaky. I'm going to pull the whole thing out. Look, another one not glued in. Alright, I'm going to put this whole board aside for now. And zoom out a bit. So, step 1 that I like to do, because the hand sensor's on the front here, there's always usually a bit of a lip here. So I've just got a little chamfer tool, or whatever you call it, deburring tool. anything will work really. Any Stanley knife. Doesn't make it look the prettiest, but makes it feel good. Matter of fact, let's just do it this way. I'll just get it like a blade. Just take that edge off. Bit of a feel, make sure it's all good. Oh gee, we'll do the other side. Fairly sure it's only one side that needs to be done, but we'll do both. Should probably do the whole gun to be honest, but anyway. Just do the quick addition today. Very nice. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it properly. Hold the whole thing together. Just give it a feel along all the seams. This one's actually pretty good. A little bit up there. Alright, time to grease it. So I just got, I don't know what you want to use, bearing grease is probably the better stuff, the blue stuff. I'll just use this stuff because this is what I got on a cotton tip. And just get a bit in there. What that's going to do is save, I think it's made of nylon or something, this, or plastic or whatever. It's just going to save it from wearing out. To the other side as well. Just like Dad used to say, bigger the gob, better the job. You actually don't want too much because it'll come out like crazy. Alright, I'm gonna need now a bit of tape. I'm going to come over to this one. This is a hand sensor on the front. Just pull off enough to do it. And all this does is keep that nice and clean. You don't actually have to do this, but I find they get very grotty if you don't. They're going to get grotty anyway, but at least this way it keeps it all nice and clean. Quick little look-sees, make sure she's all Mickey Mouse. Don't put it on your grease. Alright, we're going to glue these speakers in. So little divots face forward, little cutout bits face forward for the cable to hide in behind. Oh, they didn't even glue them, look at that. Obviously you don't want to, oh, can we go more? Sure can. Don't want to get it on the actual speaker fabric. Just keep that in mind. Quick little dot there. Quick little dot there, and I've got it on the fabric, just like I said don't do. Pop him in. Whoop. Hold it in place just a set, and that's him. some metal all through the speaker. Awesome. Wet cloth's the best thing to use, but I don't have one right now. Same thing, bit of glue either side. Hopefully the glue gun hasn't gone cold. Probably too much. And you've got to kind of get this down quick before it all sets, otherwise it's just going to stick out. Because they really do need to sit in there properly, otherwise you're going to have pressure on the plastic and it's just a bad time trying to put it all back together. Sweet! Alright, so you can go back in. I usually do the board first. Make sure all the cables are pulling in nice. Oh, a bit of a gap there. Should we fix that? That's probably why it wasn't sitting in properly. Oh Jesus, okay, we have to do that. Forget which tool bit it is, but it's like a starry one. I don't know. I don't have numbers on these, sorry, so I can't tell you which is which. But you'll work it out. So I've got a feeling either the IR isn't sitting in here properly. Oh, maybe it is, look at that. Just wasn't pinched together when it was screwed up. Better. There's one of them's, there's like two divot line things inside of here for the two IRs. One of them's got a lens on it. Sometimes if the lens isn't in properly, it'll kind of be pushing out like it did, and if you just tighten it up, it'll like crack the lens, and you do not want that. Alright, that one's good to go. The big fat laser back in. It should just kind of sit in there nice and snug. They do come out with like rubber bands around them. I don't really worry about that. The plastic holds it all together anyway. And when that screw goes in, it really does stop it moving back and forward. So I do need to find another little screw, because it should have 3 of them in there. Now we'll put them back together. You really do have to make sure everything sits in right, otherwise you could do some damage when you put it all back. Usually I'd take this out, the vibrator. I don't really see the point in it. Just conserves battery power as far as I'm concerned by not having it there, but just for the point of this video we'll leave it in. Make sure the cable runs down this little line. So we've got washer. It's always good just to like hold the board in place in case it wants to like walk up on you. They don't have to go, you don't have to sand it. They don't have to go super tight. It's just holding it all in place to stop it from like smashing around. Because they are quite, I mean they're sweet when they're brand new, but after time they are quite delicate, these boards. This is where all your sound and laser and stuff like that comes through. So you crack one of them, you're going to have a bad time. Maybe zoom in a bit more, couldn't I? Whoa, yeah, that'll do. So we've got 1, 2, I'll put number 3 in. Whoop! Way to short your whole board out. So same thing, I'm just going to rest my thumb on the back of it while I screw it in. Make sure it doesn't walk up on me and not go too tight, just enough to hold it all in place. Grease both sides, done that. Speakers are glued in, and all go back together. It's about this time too that if you got like members and regular players that get into it hard and they want this is where you can tune your IR. You'd have to consult the hierarchies if you want to learn how to do that. I think they've got a manual. You just hit up the head company. Ooh, another thing too that I'm not going to do today, but I usually do, is the trigger. On the other side of the trigger, we've got a magnet there. Oh, that was silly. I just hit it with a bit of metal primer. Just spray paint it. It just makes it last for so, because that will eventually rust out. I've tried like just putting hot glue over there and tape over it and stuff like that. Nothing works better than paint. And I've found metal primer just seems to sit so much better than everything else. Just stays on there forever. Out of all the packs when they got flooded, the ones with the metal primer didn't rust and the metal primer stayed on. The ones that I did just like black spray paint, it came off. They weren't rusted, but it came off. Having said that, all the ones that I glued rusted, so all about that longevity. Sweet, so we're gonna just pop them all back together now. Pretty much in the reverse order. Giving it a pinch either side just to make sure it's sitting there nice. That's all smooth now. Another thing too, just before we go putting it all back together, just make sure that's all lined up. I've got lucky that time. Sometimes you got to like push it in a bit more. Look down there, it's almost sitting a little bit better now until the big bolt goes into it, but anyway. So I usually go like those three and then that one just to grab it all from the middle. So we'll do that. They're all the same size screw except for these two. This is a little wee stubby one, and that's just so it doesn't come through and scratch your hand on the other side of the handle. There's no nut there, so get the nut into place, hold it from the back, screw it from the front. Don't think about it, you dirty so-and-so. I heard that thought. Same thing. I think we're missing the nut here by the feels of things. Oh, no. I just go like finger tight to begin with. You'll feel it kind of lock into place. I'll come back and get it all later on properly. Once again, sometimes they just slip straight in like champions. Sometimes you gotta force them in. New plastics, like brand new plastics, when they don't have nuts on the other side of them, I'll just get my drill bit like in a drill and I'll just send it until it almost like pulls all the plastic back out on you. I found that's the best way to get the holes nice and straight. That's for this, not for the top clear plastic. You've got to line that one up, otherwise you'll end up doing damage. I'm gonna go through. Well, I'm through like a champion, that one. Also, always feeling just everything, because you might think it's screwing in, but it's actually going in on a slight angle and pushing that plastic out. It's not the end of the world, but you know, you just, the less strain you can put on all of this stuff, the longer it's going to last for. And you don't want to go buying new plastics every bloody 6 months, do you? Doesn't have to be super tight. If that's there, we're lucky there. If that's spinning around on you, just grab a set of pliers, or I think it's like a 7mm, something like that. you can just pinch it with. Right, so that's all them in. I've got one more to do down yaw. Huckly dockly, now the gun cable. Couple of things I do here. I usually use white tape, but I don't know where that is, not that it matters. I'll put a little bit of tape around and I'll write like just the date on it. It's just handy to know when you're swapping out gun cables, how long they've lasted for. Also for fault finding too. Yep. You can write whatever. You can write the date, however you want to do it. I do it the same way that the company does it, which is year and then week, I think. Jesus Christ, when are we in? March, January, February, start of March. 8, 9. No, it's 10. Jesus, the year's just kicking on. Once again, that's just for myself. When I say fault finding, if you get like packs not charging properly, it could be a multitude of issues. One of them, most more than often actually, is the gun cable itself. So, alright, there's one other thing I'm going to do. And that's put a hose clamp on. Now I'm certain that the company will not agree with this one, especially for the way that I have to put it back together. But with my regular members, they like to play with their phasors well above their head and shoot around corners and stuff like that, which means they're stretching this gun cable. And I've just found that, see, they put these little rubbers on there, but they don't really do anything. I found the gun cable will pull out, and as I was saying, this thing's quite delicate. There's a lot of times that the gun cable will just pull all the way through, and it's putting this thing on like a, you know, massive angle, and it's just, yeah, it's just a way to avoid that. Personally, I'd rather the cheap gun cable to break before the expensive board. It's another good thing about ripping out the vibrator module. It makes this thing fit in just that little bit better. Our sister site, they use just 2 zip ties and they tie them together to make it like a figure 8 type thing, just like they put one on and then put the other one on under it, and they seem to find that doesn't make them slip as well. I just like hose clamps because they're reusable. This one's quite long. I haven't trimmed that down. I'm going to have a hard time here. Anyway, usually I'll just cut them back, but you can watch me fail. It's quite fun. So we're just going to walk that one through. He's going to go in now. When I do the hose clamps, they kind of, where this screw is, there's a big thick bit of plastic around it. I kind of just walk it up in between all of that. And doing it this way, it does put a little bit of strain on everything. When the Jesus, come on, get in there. There you go. When the vibrator module's in there, that's going to fit back in there. And you do have to. Took me breaking a few of these things before I worked out how it works. The back cover, but oh man, that one went in like a champion. Yeah, sometimes I'll be like banging on them with a hammer just to get them in. Well, I used to anyway, not anymore. You don't want to do that because they'll crack. feels like I've lost both of them. No, one of them's in. Push, push, push. Come on, buddy. Sick. Just making sure it's sitting in there nice. Do. I should have the top cover on. Once again, try not to put pressure on that. You don't want to bend that. This one I'll just pull to one side, wrap it back over on itself, wrap it back over on itself again. And once again, very gently, you just want to left, right till it goes in. You do not want to hurt that. There is some very important componentry in there. And there's like internal tracks and that, and it's really not a fun time when you have intermittent laser and sound problems. I had to clean out from all the plastic that I just scraped everywhere. And once that's all out of the way, it should just pop back in like a champion. Holding it all in place when we put things back together, because you don't want to force things. Obviously, like, sometimes you're just going to have to force things, but if you can avoid forcing things, it's always a better way to do it. They should all go back together like champions. If you're like sending something, you probably don't have it in right. But I mean, we've all been there. You just want to get out of there. You've been working on a bloody pack for that should have been a 5-minute job for like an hour, and sometimes you just, it should have listened to you, you know. There's nothing. Oh, one. Always double check then too. I've run into the fault where I think they're screwing in all nice and neat. I walk away and then a week later bits of plastic hanging out, because it'll thread itself as it goes through sometimes. So always make sure there's actually a nut on the back side of it. Alright, now the top board, I do recall that wasn't going together properly, and I can see there, it's because you probably can't, but the screen's just not in right. Could be a lot of things. You could accidentally have the Wi-Fi antenna cable in the way. You could have screwed these things in too tight and they start to bend all the plastic out. And it could also be the grommets that these things screw into. I think if you screw them in too much, they'll end up walking the grommet back out. And that's not a good sign. There we go. Right, so that's out now. Super gentle, super gentle. Board on the ground. It's a lot easier when it's in the pack. Delicate operation, these things, because you can accidentally rip the whole screen apart. Whoop! So that one came out. And yeah, we can see there, look, it's been bent. Anyway, I've found myself, if I, when I'm putting, bugger it, I'll just get it out. Jesus. Brand new one. Anyway, yeah. So I'll line up the bottom first. You want to maybe do this with gloves, otherwise you'll leave fingerprints all over the screen. And I'll just bend it backwards on itself. I call it the rubber, I'm pretty sure it's silicone. And they are very flimsy, these screens, so look at that. Fingerprints friggin' everywhere. So you don't want to push too hard on them. Just not in right at the bottom, so I'm going to just push from the top. Look at that, it's catching. We might need a new screen here. Oh, might have got it. Push him in. Once again, it probably looks like I'm being a bit rough with it, which I am, but I've just getting flooded. I've taken these screens in and out a multitude of times now. Look, it's still not sitting in right, but come on buddy, come on buddy, come on buddy. The problem you'll have is if you're too rough with them, these little plastic divots will break on you and the screen will end up sliding out, and it's just not a good time. When the screen moves, you'll end up like damaging the cable and that, and you'll have intermittent screens. And look at that, it's so hard to get clean. You probably can't see that, but anyways. Alright, so to put him back in, 2 little divots inside the rubber housing, line up with 2 divots in the plastic, and it's just very gently get it in place. It's a bit hard to show you, but I kind of just like walk it in with my fingers. Once it's half in, one thing I've noticed is I can almost stretch out the rubber and it'll stop it from leaving its little home. I think we're going to need a new screen here. I think that metal's pushing everything out. It's a bit better. Let's see how it goes anyway. Popping back in, making sure we've got no cables in the way. Look at that, it's still doing it. Let's see what it looks like when it's tweaked. I like to do the middle one first. Very gently. At the top. Once again, holding all the plastic in place, just giving it a slight bit of a squeeze. The fastener is always going to work better if you hold it in, and then it's almost like spring loaded when you let go of it, as opposed to the fastener pulling it in tight, if that makes sense. So that's pulling that thing out, isn't it? That's not in right. Just a little bit of a gap there, but I haven't done this one fully in. Oh, yes I have. I'm not too happy with that. But I really don't want to replace a brand new screen. Let's see how it looks like when it's in the gun. Making sure pins line up. Sometimes they'll go in without the pins, with only like one side of the pins going in, and you'll end up getting like, the pack will still work, but you'll come up with like a red spanner and it won't make sound and stuff like that. Many a headaches with that one in the past. Same thing there, it's like the plastic's just not right, but I can hold it in place just to get it through. If I tried to just put the screw through, it's going to go through on an angle. You might be able to get the screw all the way through, but it won't come out the back straight, which means you'll never be able to get the nuts in. Seem to be down. A screw. And a nut. Oh no, there's a nut. Where's that gap? Still a bit of a gap. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the biggest problem is just members. They'll hold the gun lock upside down and they sweat through it, and when you get sweat on the main board, it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Quite an expensive main board. Can be destroyed by people just sweating through it. You open it up, and I think it's better now because they lacquer all their boards, but it's around the backside under this on the board, you'll just see it's like the green death. You get like SD card problems and Wi-Fi problems. And anyway, now she's back up. I'm just going to go through and just give it another quarter of a turn just to be sure. Sometimes you'll need to do a little bit more because now everything's straight. It might not have gone in properly in the first place, like that one. Once again, I don't know if there's a torque setting for these, and I'd argue there shouldn't be because they're all different. But it's just enough to not come loose, and it's just going to be one of those things that you're just going to have to learn. I know that sounds weird, but you don't want to over tighten it because you'll break plastics after time when there's too much pressure on it. You don't want to under tighten it because it's just going to come undone on you. Anyway, last but not least, Gundam only goes on one way. We've got a divot up the top, got a divot on the phasor. The brand new ones, once again, they're real stiff, so if you just, I like to block it off with my hand, and it almost like creates like a pressure zone in here, which will just blow it up like a balloon. Sometimes, left-handed. You don't want to go too full on. The amount of plastics I've snapped doing this and getting them off is not cool. Anyway. Woo! Much better up. Feels nice and smooth. Give it a shake, make sure nothing's going to come loose. The most important thing, make sure she kicks back over. Maybe run a test game or run it through the test mode. Make sure you got lasers, make sure it all shoots. Oh. Come on. Come on. Hey, and we're good to go. And for a quicker method, so that you don't want to rip the whole gun apart, you can cheat. It's not really the best practice. Jesus. Telling you, that is why you use hand tools and not power tools to do these things up. Supposed to be a square. Look at that. Jesus Christ. Quality. Two screws out, shake, 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 pull up. You can just take the top off, back these two out. Once again, it's not really the best practice because you're going to put a lot of pressure on the plastic. So we like to hear. You can just kind of give it the old benderooner. Pop it out. Greasing both sides. Oh, that was a bit too much. No, it was not enough. Come on, buddy. There we go. And make sure you're not choking this thing. Oh god, that is tight, isn't it? You want these to be like loose, eh? I mean, not loose, but you want freedom of movement. Otherwise, you go through springs. They're never going to come undone in there. At least I've never had one come undone. Sweet, half liney mark. Bendy bendy. Turny turny. Hey. The only thing doing it that way is you're going to have to wipe the trigger down once you're done. Otherwise you're going to get grease on your customers. And then back together.